What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mastamynd here for Hall Cannabis Live, and we're back with another episode of 420 Live Ohio. We've got a lot going on today, so make sure you hit the like, subscribe button, and let's go ahead and jump right into the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mastamynd.
All right, so we've got a lot to unpack today. So, first off, we do have a special guest today. We do have Patrick Monaghan here today from Purpose Leaf, otherwise known as Home. And so we'll get to that here in a minute. And do have some announcements about yesterday's meeting with the advisory board, the Medical Marijuana Advisory Board. So let's jump right in. So the first thing is that the Medical Marijuana Advisory Board has stated that they will disband this board in September per the program rules. So we will no longer have a Medical Marijuana Advisory Board sometime in September. So we need to work together as a cannabis community to figure out how we can replace this organization with our own civilian organization so that we have more of a say-so in what's going on with our medicine and our program. So that's something there. Also, we do know that there are several dispensaries, at least 5, that are in the process of trying to get open. We know that one of them is definitely Strawberry Fields Columbus. We don't have any time frame of when it'll be open. The pharmacy didn't specifically name them, but we do know that the location here in Columbus does exist, and I've showed you that the building is there. We also know that there's other locations such as Harvest that have been kind of wrapped up in controversy for quite some time, and we do believe that those dispensaries will actually open too. We also know that Buckeye Relief was awarded a license. So there is only one. I can't quite figure out who else is opening one besides those. So we'll have to keep an eye out to see. Also, we're going to continue to have patient meetings via Zoom a few times a month. We're going to try to stick with every week, but sometimes that may not be possible due to my health reasons. But we will be having some different hosts and some different topics for each of these weekly meetings. So they won't just be hangouts where we're just sitting there medicating, but we will be having some information there for patients as well and some guest speakers. So we are going to change it up and make it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more educational, and also a little bit more fun. So that's something else we're working on as well. And as far as my surgery goes, by the time you're watching this, hopefully your surgery went well and I'll be feeling good. I've set this up so that you guys would have a good show today, and that you'd have a really informative show today. So I'm looking forward to bringing Mr. Monaghan on here so that you can hear all the wonderful things he's got to tell you. And he does have some exclusive information that will be released here and nowhere else. So I definitely want to make sure that you watch it all the way to the end so you can hear the exclusive news that will not be announced anywhere else but on my channel. So definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. There is one thing I want to add. There is a echo with the microphone, so it's not too bad. So I do apologize. We wasn't able to correct it. So let's go. Hello, Patrick. Can you hear me?
Hey, Anthony, how's it going?
Great. It's awesome to have you here with me today, and thank you for taking the time to do this interview. Hopefully, you doing this interview will encourage and inspire other LLCs in our program to volunteer to do interviews like this. So,
Yeah, we're pumped to be here. First, I just want to say thank you so much for having me, and I want to apologize to you and your followers. I know that we had to push this interview a couple of times as I was dealing with family matters. So I appreciate the understanding from you and all your followers out there. And like you said, we've got some big news that I wanted to make sure we save for this interview. So make sure everyone stays tuned to the end of this to hear it through.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask you the questions that I kind of have written down here. I know this may not answer all the questions that patients will have, but make sure that you definitely feel free to ask those questions within the comments, and we'll try to do our best to reply and get you some answers to those questions in the comments. So they may be delayed, but we'll try to get them answered for you. All right, so the first question that I have for you today, Patrick, is tell us about why you got into the cannabis industry and a little bit about yourself.
Oh, it's one of my favorite questions to ask people when I first meet them in the cannabis industry, right? Because everyone's got so many unique stories about how they found their way here. Like many people, I'm in the industry. I was enlightened to the incredible possibilities of cannabis through a less than incredible personal experience. I moved to Ohio actually for education and to help out as much as I could with my aunt and uncle who were located at the time in Gahanna, Ohio, as they both battled their own illnesses and handicaps. My uncle, Donald Moore, had been bravely battling cancer for 6 years at that point, and the condition was not improving. We'd end up losing him 2 years later. But while he was still with us, though, was when I was first exposed to the serious medicinal possibilities of cannabis. In order to, ease his pains and the vomiting associated with the brutality of chemo radiation in his final years, doctors prescribed him Marinol, which you may or may not be familiar with, but is a drug which contains a compound called dronabinol, which is a synthetic form of delta-9 THC. So even before any states had legalized in the United States, this was a off the side form of a way for a doctor to offer this possibility to patients. Obviously, as we've developed our knowledge, we know there's many other parts of the plant that are very vital to that medicinal process. And so here we are today with a medical industry, but like many, he was at first very hesitant to try it or even take it seriously as a medicine, especially with the strong Christian background he and my family were rooted in. But thankfully, he warmed up to the idea of trying it, and it was during these times that I saw him have the opportunity to finish, a whole plate of food without getting sick, sit at the table or in a room with us for an extended period of time without feeling uncomfortable. And from that, gained the confidence to go out and enjoy his life as much as possible in, the ever-decreasing amount of ways he was capable of doing so. We unfortunately also had to say goodbye to my aunt and his loving wife, Faith Moore, last week as she passed away of multiple different but related conditions.
Sorry to hear that. My condolences.
I appreciate that. And, like I said at the beginning of the show, I do appreciate the patience that you and your viewers have shown as we push this interview a little bit to make that doable. So I appreciate that. But like I said, last week she passed away, which is, why I ended up having to push this. But the point of mentioning this is that, like many others who have come to believe in the plant's possibilities through personal experiences like this, you can't help but wonder what could have been different if people like Donnie and Faith had earlier access to the quality medicinal cannabis options, which are now available here in Ohio and many other places around the country. And so with all these experiences and lessons that myself and countless others have had, I felt almost obligated to get involved, or at least lean in as much as I could to this opportunity and possibility in order to assist in this greater cause, we're all working towards in this industry, which is to increase people's control and understanding over their treatment options and get cannabis into the hands of anyone and everyone who wants to try and see if they'll benefit from having it in their lives. The pursuit of this cause is probably what led me to where I am today and being a part of this incredible team and industry, which we're all, one of the exciting parts about it is that we're all actively shaping this every day. And you're shaping it by bringing patients knowledge to another level and bringing them new information. We're shaping it with the products that we introduce and how we work with the state in order to achieve more regulatory processes and advance this program further. So I first entered the cannabis industry with the Hondros family of companies right after college. Actually was doing a little full-time, both school and college, because, I have to be an overachiever for myself. And so, it was excellent to be part of that. And I got to shadow and learn from their team of executives who have been a part of the Ohio business, education, nonprofit, and regulatory committees for decades. And they have worked to bring, their 5 Brilliant Creation dispensary locations online while I was there, which was incredible to see from the ground up. I was there while they launched Motive CBD, and also got to help them apply for licenses in other states while beginning to formulate entries into the Ohio's new hemp cultivation program, which would eventually blossom into what is today Hondros Hemp Farms, 100% pun intended there. and into one of Ohio's premier cultivation grows currently. Um, After some time working with these companies, I was given the opportunity by license holders of this here lab, Purpose Leaf, at the time, to come help them lead the final build out of the license and get it through inspection, which we were able to accomplish. And, with the help of a great team of brains from this diverse backgrounds, including our general manager, Richard Comstock, who has brought the home brand to life with his many years of experience in the legal markets out west, to our quality control manager and now facility manager, Mason Randall, who brings a strong analysis and lab background, which is key in keeping, a lab clean, consistent, and quality levels where they belong.
Absolutely.
If it weren't for the efforts of this whole team, like everyone else in the state that's had to deal with this, we've had to remain extremely flexible and creative in how we are shaping not only the brands we launch out of this lab, but also the industry, like we touched base on earlier. Once we've been in the market for a while, we launched Hone back in May of 2020. So we
Hone. Wait, hold on. Excuse me. Hone. I always say Han, so it's Hone.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, this is a
I say
common mix.
Han.
Yeah, no. So it's actually hone, as in hone your senses.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. That's a common mix-up in this state, and we're, this is one of the reasons we're getting out here on videos like this in order to correct things such as little as that to further issues and patient understanding. Yeah, no problem at all. Completely understandable. But after we've been in the market for a while, like I was saying, this past month was 1 year of sales for the home company, for the home brand. So we were pumped to celebrate that. But about 6 months into launch, which would have been a year from our actual license awardship, the Honduras company has actually ended up acquiring us and joining us with the forces at Verdant Creations, bringing extremely important retail and patient understanding to our growing team, which, has become invaluable in the development of the growth of our ability to provide these products, because it's very difficult right now in the industry for us, myself, to go out and talk to as many patients as possible or gather as many reviews as possible. I sit in at patient education days all the time, and I still only get to see, probably 20 to 40 patients a day. So having this type of exposure and being able to talk to patient care specialists who are hearing the questions that patients are asking daily is extremely valuable to us. We get to better understand what the problems are, what patients are looking for, what's available, what isn't, and what could be tweaked to be made better. So that's been an incredible opportunity for us, and obviously all the resources that come with that has just been a massive boost to the growth of our company. Here we are, a year and a half after our license was approved. We're ever growing in the amount of ways and locations in which we can serve the patients, and it's been quite the ride.
All right, so let me make sure I understand this. So, because you gave us a lot of useful information there, and I want to make sure I connect everything for everybody. So, the company that you started out working for, that company was called Purpose Leaf, right?
So when I first came out of college, I went to work for the Hondros family of companies.
Hondros family, okay.
Did not own the Purpose Leaf license, because obviously we have licenses in Ohio. You have to bring them operable, for a year before they're even available for any purchase or discussions of such. So I was with the Hondros family of companies and got to watch them launch those Verdant Creation stores across the state. That CPD company get the applications as well to the other states. And then I left them for this opportunity here at Purpose Leaf. But because of the great relations that we maintained, we were still selling to the Verdant Creations and maintained all those relationships over there. The teams just molded well together, and after the appropriate amount of time, we were acquired by them, and now I am officially back with the Hondros family of companies.
Okay, so you worked at both companies before they can combine themselves together.
Correct.
And so for patients, just to make sure, I want to be clear. So patients, I'm gonna say this, and you tell me if I got it wrong, because I want to make sure the patients that are watching this understand how these things came together. So the Honduras family, right? I'm not saying it right. I don't want to miss it. Hondros. Okay. My apologies, Hondros family. I want to make sure I say it right. The Hondros family have always owned Verdant Creations from the very beginning. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Correct. For the
Okay.
Cresco acquisition.
4 locations out of their 5 locations. So
Correct.
the only
Leaving
location,
us with the Columbus location.
correct, right. And then Purpose Leaf, their product brand line is the home. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
And so the Hondros, did I say it right? Hondros?
You did.
Okay, I want to make sure. Hondros family, such good collaboration was going on there. You guys, after the appropriate time, as we discussed, per the legal regulations, it has to be 1 year of operation before there can be any sale or transfer of any type of LLC business related to the medical marijuana program. Is that correct? I just
Yes,
want to make
sir.
sure I'm giving right information. I'm
You got
really
it.
a stickler for that. So, and so that's how these companies became one company now.
You
Okay.
got it. That's exactly the story.
Okay. So the next thing I want to do is, because I know there are some people who are still learning about the Hone products, specifically, let's say the pearls. I did do a review on that, but I think it would be useful for you to tell us a little bit more about those things and how they're different from other products that are other concentrates. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, no, excellent question. So I'll kind of actually, what I'll do is I'll run this through all of our products real quick. And because what you'll see is many of the processes, they overlap. And so that way we'll kind of go through the story of our product line and we'll explain how every one of them is made really easily.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, so we utilize multiple different extraction methods here in the lab, both CO2, mechanical, and some other proprietary methods to collect terpenes and extract our cannabinoid compounds. Most prevalent of this is our CO2 machine, which is where most of our extractions start or take place. Like I said, we also utilize the rosin press. But to address each one of our offerings, and I'll go into about how each one is made, we have our luster pods, and that's our main form of our vaporizable system, as you would call it. We've also got, like what you mentioned, our own one-of-a-kind concentrate, which really isn't found created in this way with this purpose anywhere else in the country that I've been able to discover, which would be our pearls. And then we also create other small batch concentrates from time to time as the quality of flower allows. Which we'll touch base on, because as a standalone processor, that prevents a lot of unique opportunities and challenges. We also have our edibles line, which is growing rapidly over here. We first launched with our 100% pure, raw, unpasteurized, and locally harvested honey, which is available in original and also rotating seasonal flavors. So right now we've got strawberry and cinnamon infused flavored honeys out there on the market. And these flavor infusions happen all naturally and are only created utilizing dried fruits and herbs. So, cinnamon sticks and literally dried strawberries is what we're utilizing to infuse the flavors
Now I'm
into
I'm
this.
going to ask you a technical question. Now, are you doing a distillate base with that, or is
Yeah,
it water soluble? Because I know some people are
it
doing
is
water
distillate.
soluble and distillate based.
Of course, yeah, and that's an excellent point to bring up. That's obviously a discussion constantly in the industry. It really ranges from product to product how distillate is going to be applicable versus water soluble THC. If you're looking for more of a beverage or a gummy where it's going to be a much smaller concentration of product, you're definitely you see companies going that THC soluble route. But with products such as what we're utilizing, because they're so raw in their form and powerful in their aromas and flavors, the distillate combination to them is hardly noticeable. And, we really pride ourselves on, our 3 edible products being available, and not only available in many different flavors and options and sizes, but in a flavor and an approachable palate, so that people who are not used to using cannabis can utilize these edibles in numerous different ways, as far as, so they're not restricted to eating a certain type of food. They could apply these edibles to anything they're already eating. So to kind of get into those other edibles a little bit, we just released last week, ghee, which is clarified butter created from grass-fed organic cows in
What?
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Butter?
Yeah. So
Did you
you
say butter?
probably
Did I hear that right?
you did, but what you're
Butter.
probably thinking of is canna butter, right? Which is just a raw
No,
form
but
of butter infused with cannabis, right? This
right.
is actually clarified butter, so it's much, much healthier, actually. So what ghee in the simplest form, it's a healthy butter, right? But better. Ghee is a type of butter that is heated and reduced until all milk solids are separated, and then those dairy and lactose solids are filtered out, and you're left with a healthy, pure fat ghee. So this ghee does not have to be refrigerated. So it's basically a concentrated, lactose-free form of butter that doesn't have to be refrigerated.
Now, how many days is that going to take, sir? Because that sounds like that's
So
going to take a lot of days. It costs a lot of money, man.
multiple sizes rolling out. Yeah. So we've got multiple sizes rolling out. Right now, we're going with the 6 ounces, which is going to be 550 milligrams for that 5-day supply. And it comes with a tool, which is going to be it's going to give you approximately 3 milligrams of THC per scoop. Let me actually see if I've got one here. I know we have one around here somewhere. Oh, well, we'll have to get back and do another follow-up video where I get our tools involved, because I know you love our dab tool as well.
Yeah, it's around here somewhere.
But yeah, so that's ghee was a product that we dropped last week.
How's that spelled? Spell that for me. How's it spelled?
GHEE.
Okay, and is there a country of origin where that technique comes from, or is there any type of cultural connection to how it's made that way?
That's an excellent question. As far as origins, and I would assume probably Eastern European, but I'm not going to put that to a point, and okay. So I'll have to get back to you on that. But I do know that where our product comes from is Lancaster, Pennsylvania, from grass-fed organic cows.
Okay.
So that much I can tell you.
so definitely it's a specific process done at a specific place to create that particular product, and then you have to be able to mix that and blend that with what you're doing in your process.
Right, correct. So with that, the ghee is actually created by that company out in Lancaster, California, who we've partnered with, and they are therefore providing us with the ghee.
California? Did you say California?
No, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
I'm getting ahead.
I want to make sure we had that right.
To tell you our next release product that I promised, and that is our olive oil. So
olive oil.
Soon we're going to be offering a THC infused olive oil coming all the way from California. And the cool thing about this, not only is it coming from California, it's the very first family to ever produce olive oil on a mass scale here in America back in the early 1900s. So that's really, really fascinating to partner with them for that purpose alone. But when you add the quality of their products, it just knocks it out of the park. It's cold pressed, which actually preserves the rich olive flavor a lot better than normal olive oil production methods do, which heats it up to extract it. This is actually cold pressed, so the flavor is preserved. It's 100% virgin, and it's won awards around the globe for its quality. So this and the ghee are also, the ghee is available now in Berlin, Columbus. We're going to be distributing
Really? It's there now?
It's there now. And it's going to be, I think they're going to be processing it for the menu availability this week. So hopefully you'll be able to see that available by the end of this week. And the cool thing about that, like I mentioned, the rotating seasonal flavors for the honey, we're going to be doing the same thing with the ghee and the olive oil. So we're going to be starting out with some black garlic olive oil here pretty soon.
Black garlic. See, I don't do garlic, man, but it sounds fancy though. It sounds fancy, man. I'm excited now. I can't wait to do a review on that.
We are all about going for the best here, Anthony. We understand that there are other options out there in the market that provide similar products, but we're never going to go out there and create a product just to match someone. We are always going to try to go above and beyond as far as quality. So that's something we really pride ourselves on. So I'll go into the production of those like you wanted for a little bit here. So like we made the switch to the luster pot system here.
I don't like them, right? You know I don't like them, right?
I know. Maybe home will make you a believer. Who knows, right?
Okay, I'm listening.
All right. So basically, we're excited about this system. We think a lot of quality companies in the state are utilizing these. And so I'll kind of go into how we create from step one to finalize when it arrives
Before
in the
you
hand.
do that, I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I'm going to ask you a question. Now, when making the decision to go with the Luster Pod versus the Pax Era Pod, what goes, other than it being a .85 versus a .5, what other reasons would make you go towards a device that doesn't have any options on it at all? It doesn't have a battery indicator, it doesn't have Bluetooth, it doesn't have any kind of temperature or dosing controls, it doesn't give you the lab information. And then, we got some that are black and some that are clear, and they clog a lot. So I'm just trying to understand the thinking from a processor standpoint of why LusterPod. Tell us.
Of course. Excellent question, of course. And so that decision comes into a lot of parts, right? One is availability, usability, what's already out on the market. We saw a lot of early players introduce the LusterPod system, right? Which naturally created a lot of patients that already had the system available, right? And so when you combine that with also pricing reasons so that we can pass on a better price to the patient, combine that two things, and we really felt that in order to get our product into the amount of hands we wanted it to be in, the LusterPod system was the way to go. Obviously the industry is always evolving, and we're always going to be reapproaching systems and how we want to do things. So, we still have 510 threads available in the market.
Okay.
We haven't been too hot on those for a little while, but we may circulate those back in. But like I said, we're an ever flexible company, and as we learn more, if we hear more, and the industry changes, maybe regulatory structures change, enabling us to provide other things at lower cost, we're going to stick with the LusterPod system, as we've seen, great feedback from patients so far. And to address the black versus the clear mouthpiece, this actually comes down to an issue that everyone in the state is facing right now. I know there are companies that have access to the clear ones right now, but if you or anyone in the country was trying to source these, it's very, very difficult right now because of COVID measures, and I'm sure you also are aware of the vaporizing bill that was passed by the U.S. government not too long ago.
Yep.
And so
about shipping supplies, yes.
Yeah, so those in combination with a lot of other reasons, especially shipping times and rates from China, the availability of those clear ones is nearly impossible right now. So we are working, I will say, we are working diligently to get those as an option, and they will be an option for patients in our LusterPods. They will be switching over to the clear eventually, but as of now, it's just really, really difficult for us to get them in, but we are working towards it.
All right, a couple of things I'm going to say about this, and we'll move on. So, right here with me, you probably didn't know I was going to have it right here behind me, is a LusterPod and a Pax Pod. Now, we're not going to talk about the quality of the oil, whose oil this is. That's all irrelevant. But from a guy who's testing, trying things, and trying to figure out what works, what draws me to one or the other isn't just what I said about the battery itself, because like you said, availability plays into that. But the other thing that sells me on this device more, and it has its faults too, is that, for one, there's a place to label what the product is. I'm not going to zoom in. So like I said, it doesn't matter what it is, but it does have the name of the product. And when you have a bunch of these, like say you're a user that has one for night, one for day, you may, it might not be a good idea to put a sticker on this. It may affect it, putting it into the device. So I'm just wondering, has anyone considered, like, from a user standpoint, like, how do we make it easier? And also, I haven't seen your packaging for the LusterPods yet, but that's another thing I noticed about the packaging, is that some of the people's packaging is rather frustrating to open, or it's not frustration free is what I'm trying to say. I know that one company might be, the other one's a little bit more twist and like I said, not mentioning names, but Um, and I just think, and even these Pax pods, the packaging is not easy to open. So is that something that your company has thought about as far as these type of things,
100%.
labeling and packaging?
100%. That's an excellent point you brought that up, because that was one of our biggest thought processes when we were first entering the market as a late enter, right? Because we got into the market well after many of early enters had established themselves. And so one of the things we really wanted to differentiate ourselves on was our packaging. And so our luster pods come in this here little locked in, along as same as our other concentrates in our pearls. And the beautiful thing about these is, so when you purchase this, there's obviously going to be a tamper proof on this package somewhere. And tamper proof or no tamper proof, opening it is as simple as and twist. That's it.
Right. Yeah, and I did notice that about the
So it's extremely
pearls.
friendly to arthritic patients because you never have to grip it. And that was one of the first things we heard about our products, was actually the appreciation from patients surrounding our packaging. So the next level to this is, we wanted to create a product, a package that patients could possibly use again for other purposes. I've had people send me photos of, they've got like 4 or 5 of these, and they've got their different office supplies in them. They got their staples in one, they've got their tacks in the other, or however they've got it. And so that was the stage 1 of that, right? The next stage 2 is to figure out how to make packaging recyclable, right? And so we're just this close to being able to do so, but we're not quite there yet, but we're working towards that.
Now, since you brought that up, I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm gonna go there. So we talk about recycling, and this is just what I took off the shelf behind me. All these containers, and people say just throw them away. Well, there's 2 reasons that I don't just throw them away. One, because these are to me a piece of history for Ohio. Some of these things don't even exist in the program anymore. Certain things just didn't make it. And so I'm keeping this as historical purposes, but many other people are keeping it because of other concerns, whether it could be something being recalled, which we've seen that happen. Some other nefarious reason a refund might need to be issued. But then there's many other patients who just simply have nowhere to store the stuff like I do, and they throw these things away. And I think, when we say we can reuse the containers, I think that there's a missed opportunity there, like you said, and I've seen Firelands also talked about it, is that there is no one giving any guidance on these type of things. Like, is it okay to recycle the container for another purpose, or is there an issue with set doing that? I mean, anybody can make a candle holder or a storage container, like you said, pencil. I mean, I recycle lots of containers here, but there's still that concern of, okay, if I decide to strip everything off of it and make a bunch of candles and give some of my homegirls from, am I gonna have an issue? See, so that, and then like I said, there's always that concern about what information is, on a container. I'm not gonna pull one out, but that's another thing too. So that's why I was talking about, like, okay, even with the packaging, I think you guys have really nailed that, because one thing I have trouble with sometimes is opening packages, especially ones where you have to do some kind of like squeeze and turn and push and pull. There's all some kind of trick to it. And I have arthritis in my hands, so that definitely plays into me. But from a person with a traumatic brain injury, what I struggle with sometimes is what I showed you before, is having products that are no longer in their packaging. I'll use a concentrate as the same thing. I'll just show the back of one. Some of them you might just see the name of the company on it, and there's a few companies who put the information on the jar itself. So is that something that Hone is considered Hone has considered doing as far as labeling the product itself? That's what I'm asking.
That's an excellent question. And, we are, as far as that recycling point, I'm 100% going to take that into consideration. And we are, as I stated, working towards making this packaging recyclable. And once we get it to that point, we're going to make sure that that's easily displayed. And we also are working currently on education inserts for the pods and the other tin products, So in that education material, perhaps there's room for something like that. So we'll definitely take that into consideration.
Yeah, because another thing that a lot of people are very most interested to learn about is terpenes, and
Yes.
I think that there is always some room to add some type of educational material for product that goes into more specifics about what terpenes are in their product, and also again the part we were going to talk about next, since you're the lab director, is we're going to go through the lab report for one of your products, a COA. We call it COA. It's a certificate of analysis, to kind of like, explain as a lab director what kind of things you're looking at from a quality standpoint.
Sure. So, for those of your listeners that aren't familiar with what a COA is, it's essentially a report card that processors and cultivators receive after their product is completed and a testing sample is sent out. So we get one on the front end from cultivators when we're purchasing biomass, and we get one on the back end once we produce a finalized product.
Explain to them what biomass is. They may not know what that means.
Yes, correct. Biomass is just a fancy term we use in processing, so we don't say a ton of wheat.
I like that, biomass.
Yep, exactly. And so I'll kind of walk you through here. I got one of our COAs from our Cindy 99 pearls, which had excellent terpene results. And I'll kind of just quickly walk you through, show your patients, maybe they've seen one of these before and they're confused by it, or maybe they haven't seen and they're curious about it. But like I said, this is one of our COAs, and I'll walk you through it real quick. And I'll also, Anthony, get this over to you. So if you want to provide this on your site somewhere, that's more than possibility.
You read my mind there, sir. Go right ahead.
Awesome. So, right here on the front, pretty straightforward. You get your information of the lab and whatnot, what's going on here. Down here, you've got your actual cannabinoids. This here shows your total CBD and your total THC. So in this particular sample, it was 709 milligrams of THC and 107 milligrams of CBD, right? Which brings that percentage down here. So you can see here the mass of the THCA percentage is 63%, right? And then down here you see the delta 9 and all the other applicable cannabinoids. So it walks you through all of them from delta 9, delta 8, THCV, CBDA, all the way down to CBC.
Is there delta 8 in there? Because they get real sensitive about that delta 8, man. Is there delta 8 in your product?
Oh yeah, that's definitely a topic that's out there in the industry. We haven't particularly addressed that here with our practices or incorporated it in any way, shape, or form. But this is where, if you were looking for that information on a product, you would look for it as a patient. And so you would look here on the cannabinoids. Then down here it's pretty standard. You've got your pesticides, residual solvents, microbials, moisture levels, mycotoxins, foreign matters, heavy metals, and water activities. And so these are all tested except for water activities and moisture, which is not required by the state for our purposes. And so you can see here, pass, complete, pass, pass, pass. And any COA that's going to be provided by a cultivator or a processor to a patient is going to be passed through all of this, because obviously they're not going to be able to sell that product unless it's passed the testing regulations.
Well, let me ask you a lab question. So on a product, I don't think it was a concentrate. I believe it was a flower product, but the lab report said incomplete. Now, what would be the reason why I would look at a flower report and it would say something was incomplete? Maybe one of the tests wasn't done. It should have been. It just says, as a result, the report is. It just says when you pull it up, it says incomplete. That's one of the main themes of it. And I was just wondering, is there a circumstance where they have lab reports sometimes, and because they don't test for everything for each type of product, like a edible versus a concentrate, for example,
right?
Would that be why they would? How would you see it incomplete there, unless there was would there be something wrong, or sometimes the test doesn't go through completely and they have it marked incomplete? I'm just curious. I wish I had an example.
I would have to take a look at that particular COA that you're referencing, so to give a clear answer on that.
Okay.
But as far as what you may have also seen down here is, in these test marks, you've got the not tested boxes, which is considered similar to kind of like that idea of an incomplete possibly that you might be referencing or may have seen. So we'll definitely have to follow up on that one and see what
I'll definitely get some and show them to you, because I still got them.
course, I know.
Yeah.
You're gonna by the end of all this, with all the packaging and COAs you've collected, you're gonna be able to open Ohio's first museum of cannabis.
Yeah, yeah. If I can find somewhere, where would I put it at? I don't know. There would be a lot of stuff in there, man. It would probably be like, we would need like something as big as like the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to house all the stuff in this program, right? It is ever expanding.
Feels like it, right? And so
So
just to sum this up real quick, on your second page, if you're looking on this, you see here you've got your terpene levels. And so
Right.
this explains to you the percentage mass and the actual mass by milligrams per gram. So this particular batch of Cindy 99 pearls tested pretty off the charts with pinene, myrcene, and limonene at 7.7 milligrams for pinene per gram, 5.9 for myrcene, 3.4 for limonene. You've also got your pinene, caryophyllene, and linalool present here in this sample as well. And a nice little touch that they'll do down here that is something we're also looking into, and as a part of that education piece inside the packaging that we touched on, Anthony, was the actual icons associated with the terpene. So you've got your pine to explain the pinene, hoppy scent and aroma to explain the myrcene, and orange to explain the limonene. Cinnamon and lavender as icons as well to explain that. So that's just another added level that they add in there to help patients understand kind of what those words mean, because I mean, those all sound like complicated names of compounds, and frankly, they are. So it's good that they're providing that much information as well and bringing it down to that level so that it's much more easy to understand for everyone. On the back here, in the final page, they provide everything that we discussed on the front page as far as pesticides, microbials, and other harmful compounds that could possibly be found in something like that. So you can obviously see here, pass, complete. And so you would have your pesticides, heavy metals, and all the main ones that they're testing for are listed here. And they'll always say not detected, pass, if it's a passing COA. And so that's kind of how we look at COAs. That's what we're given, and that's also, patients can request these for any specific strain or product, and
I was
we
going to
are
ask you
also
that.
going to provide that.
Okay, and so how did they? Okay, so tell my viewers, how did they request if they buy one of your products? How did they go about requesting the certificate of analysis for that product?
Excellent. So you're going to want to go to homecannabis.com. That's HON cannabis.com. On there, we've got an email that's just support@purposeleaf.com, and that's checked every single day, and we're ready to respond to any questions, inquiries, or anything of that. An additional level to that is we are working towards finding ways to supply information from the COA in educational ways like we touched on before, Anthony. So more to come on that end as well.
Does this company that you work for are they thinking about growing their own flower, or are they just going to continue to use flower from other sources?
Great question. So as of now, we do not have a cultivation license, and there's no news or any idea of when or if Ohio is going to release any more opportunities for cultivation licenses. So
Sure.
as of now, in our vision that we have now, we are a standalone processor with Columbus Birth and Creation being our home dispensary.
Speaking of
that
that,
is where we're going to be sticking for a while.
okay, I was going to say, speaking of that being your only dispensary, now since you shed 4 licenses or 4 buildings there, is there any chance that we will see a resurgence of verdant locations?
That's not necessarily any information I'm privy to. I'm more focused on the lab side of things. It keeps me plenty busy, believe me, over here.
Sure.
So that's something that maybe we can touch base on another time if I'm able to gather some information.
All right, and something else I want to ask you. So you said the Hondro family, they have other, they also, I think you mentioned something about hemp. I don't know. So they're growing hemp too, is that right?
Yeah, so they just launched Hondros Hemp Farms. So
Okay.
they are a cultivator of hemp here in Ohio.
Okay.
They're growing both medicinal and fiber forms of hemp.
Okay.
So they're still in this is their second season, their second harvest. And so obviously, just like everyone else, we're figuring out the process, how to perfect it, so on and so forth. So that's been quite the experience as well.
Okay, and so is it possible that you can be able to get someone on that side of the business to come on the show and try to do some information about local hemp farming in Ohio? Because I think there's a disconnect on patients realizing that they have access to locally sourced material, hemp CBD, and other hemp
Right.
related products that they can support local within their state. And I think that it's important that patients know that they don't have to order from mystery sites online. They can order right here from within their own state. So I think it would be a
Yeah,
great
that's an
opportunity to.
excellent point. That's
Yeah.
a
So
great point. So part of one of the reasons of launching Hondros Hemp Farms was in order to integrate the Motive CBD line that we had launched, which is also founded by these companies and located here in Columbus, Ohio. So
okay.
the hemp's being grown here, and the product is being sold here as well in many ways.
Okay.
And we too are starting to utilize the CBD isolate from that crop, right?
Okay.
Because that should be perfect for that Motive line. It's just Ohio, Ohio, so.
Yeah,
That's
and so
exactly.
that was the other thing I wanted to touch base on before we go today is could you talk a little bit about how Purpose Leaf or the Hondros family works with other local companies or local LLCs or any other mom and pop businesses that they may be working in partnership with that you could tell us about?
Sure. So, that is, part of being a responsible cannabis company in 2021 is also being a responsible community member, right?
Right.
And we completely believe that and support that, and we're constantly trying to find ways to enter that discussion, find ways like this, having conversations with you, Anthony, to
Right.
get ourselves out there and figure out how we can partner with people like you to increase education. So just to name a few, in the past, the Hondros companies were actually involved in helping with the bill enabling medical cannabis in the state, and have been long outstanding members of the Ohio community, and they felt almost the duty to become involved as such established individuals in the Ohio market. I'm sure you're aware there are schools in the state we are currently trying to work with and assist in their education process and possibly even provide cannabis scholarships. Staying with cannabis for a second too, we also have community efforts sprouting from within our very walls. One of our lab technicians, Lydia Gall, who led the build out of our analytical lab, has begun an organization called Women Can, and that's spelled Women, C-A-N-N.
Is there a website for that? Can
Yeah,
you plug
no,
our
I would-
website? What's it?
Yeah.
What's the website?
Yes, and so I promised her I would touch on that a little bit. So let me touch a little line or two about them. So we're really excited that Lydia is taking this jump and is assuming this leadership role within the cannabis community. Their mission, as she stated so clearly to me, is to empower women, asterisk, by providing and implementing a safe space for education, support, and advocacy surrounding women in cannabis.
Awesome.
They are a trans inclusive space and believe that trans women are also women. Our sisters, not just sisters, are always welcome. That being said, they do have the intention to focus on biological female experiences with cannabis, but anyone who identifies with any or all of their message is part of their community. And so you can check them out at womencan.com, and that's women, CANN.com, or check them out at Instagram as well at womencan as well. So
Okay,
give them
awesome.
a look at. And yeah, that's one of the things that we're most proud about is, our people being so inspired as being part of this market to go out and do things such as this.
This is great. And please let her know that I would love to have her on the show to tell us more about Woman Can and definitely help get that information in front of more people, especially women and just everybody else in the LGBTQ and trans community. I want to make sure that they know about it as well. So definitely let her know. I'll be happy to have her here because I respect and love everyone no matter what their beliefs are. I love everybody. And that's the only way to go.
Love, man. Panthers love.
Yes, and cannabis is a great unifier no matter what background you come from. I've learned that as I've been becoming more into patient advocacy and just trying to just be a voice for the information I see that isn't out there, and it really gets challenging at times. But being able to do this interview with you and to do hopefully some more interviews with people from the Hydro organization will be awesome. And I think this will definitely be really great educational content for people, not just even in Ohio, but everywhere else. I mean, who want to know more about, good, clean, safe medicine that is being produced in the highest standards and quality possible. That's something that is important. And I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you on the record: is it any way possible that some patients will be able to come one day and tour your facility and see what's really going on in there?
One day I hope we can do that. As of now, it's really difficult with the state. The amount of approvals we have to get anyone in here makes it difficult to do so. But we are working on creative ways of kind of providing an inside glance into what we do here that is going to be hopefully provide as much transparency as we can possibly legally provide. So that's definitely something that we're working at. And just before we go, we touched base a little bit there on the pearls, but I really wanted to use this opportunity to make sure that the pearls had a couple seconds to be explained because of their uniqueness.
Sure.
And I know you love them. And
Yes.
so I wanted to make sure that everyone else that listens to your show would have the opportunity to love and understand them as well.
Sure.
And so the thinking behind the creation of the pearls was we looked at the market and we figured, okay, so if a patient wants to buy a 5-day supply of this concentrate, whatever it may be, right? It now becomes upon them to basically formulate based off of the percentage of the cannabinoids present in that concentrate and the amount of weight about how they were going to evenly and properly continue to have a reproducible experience with that concentrate, which is oftentimes a very, it's a border for people to approach concentrates. It makes them feel uncomfortable and not confident with their medicine. And so our thinking behind it was, one day there was medicine in the bottle and the next day there was a pill, right? And so what we've tried to achieve and what we have achieved with these home pearls is essentially a dosed concentrate. And so each pearl is approximately 110 milligrams molded into a shape that is easily breakable with the tool that we provide. So as we saw in your video, Anthony, you took the whole pearl. Not all patients are as, how do I put this, as tolerable to THC as you are. And so, we didn't want to just leave it there for like, here, take the whole pearl. If you don't use it all, oh well. Right. So we wanted to take it to that next step. And so we actually had these tools specifically designed in order for patients to be able to cut them in half, quarter them, third them, crush them up into the sauce, however they felt confident doing it. And it just, it just gives them that one extra level of control and confidence over their dosing and the reproducibility of an exact effect. And so those are our pearls, and that's how we came to create them and the thinking behind them. And so literally all that goes in there is isolated THCA, CBD isolate, and strain-specific fresh cannabinoid terpenes. That's it. So there's not like any type of product that you put in there and you use it for a while and effects can change over time. It is strict concentrate, but it's already pre-dosed essentially. And obviously that's an approximate because you know how terpenes are acidic and sometimes things can change a little bit, but each one of those pearls, approximately 110 milligrams, and patients have the ability to dose it as they see fit. And so that was one of our big revolutionary products. And we continue to have that type of mentality of providing patients with that control over all products that we create, which is why we went the honey, olive oil, and ghee clarified butter route, right? Because we're not creating a product that a patient has to like. They don't have to like this particular type of candy, this particular type of anything. They can use these products on anything they're already eating. And so this is our mentality, and this is the way we're going to continue to build products over here at Purposes.
All right, and before the last thing I want to do for wrap up is I just want to circle back into the ghee, and just in general, because there is a lot of confusion about what patients can and cannot do in regards to edibles, especially when it comes to, because we have some other products in the market, as you know. There's peanut butter, there is some other olive oil, there's hot sauce. And there's jelly. And there's honey. Obviously, you had honey. There's a couple other honeys out there. And so, have you guys considered or spoke with pharmacy about creating some type of recipe resource or some type of guide that tells people this clear to them? Hey, this is meant as a topical. I mean, as a topping or a topper, and not meant to be cooked. Because when you say butter, the first thing somebody's gonna do is get the skillet out and start whipping up some pancakes or something, or making up something else and melting the butter. And obviously, we know once you add the heat to these type of products, you're gonna pretty much wipe out any of the medicinal THC that's left.
That's an excellent point, Anthony. I appreciate you bringing that up. So we actually provide a disclaimer on each one of our products saying that the product should not be heated up in order to preserve those cannabinoid dosing levels. And it's very key that your viewers and your listeners understand this, is that those cannabinoids are very sensitive. And if they're heated above a certain temperature, they're going to release, and you're not going to get the same dosing that we're guaranteeing with our spoon and with the formulations that we have created. And so it's extremely important that these products are used, on think. I've had patients tell me that the ghee went on a waffle. I've had honey been told to me that is on a muffin, so it is definitely designed to be as a garnishment as opposed to be cooked with in order to preserve those cannabinoid levels.
Right. Yeah, because I'm a milkshake smoothie guy. I like to take some honey and put it in an almond milkshake, or a smoothie. Yeah, it's still cold. So, those things shouldn't hurt. And, a couple of us are thinking about doing a honey barbecue wings video.
Wow.
But of course we know, we don't plan on cooking this stuff, obviously topping the chicken. Trying to make some type of sauce, with some of these ingredients to see if we could do that. Because you're just whisking it together or blending it with a blender. But again, we're still not using heat. So that's the idea that. Go ahead.
In addition, that we're actually rolling out. Another reason I'm excited you brought this up is because we just last week got approved the ability to build out a forum section on our website. And so we're going to be able to accept in patients' suggestions or how they're sharing with us, how they're utilizing the ghee, the olive oil, or the honey. And obviously we have to filter through them and decide which ones are most useful to other patients. But hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have a good collection of options and samples and examples for patients to reference when they visit our website.
Yeah, and since you mentioned that, the last thing is never the last thing. But another thing too, on OhioCannabisLive.com, one thing that I have done is I've created a review system there that doesn't collect your name or anything like that, but it does allow you to input what type of product it is, provide a picture, and provide a small feedback of what you thought about the product. And so you can review any product in this program, and it has a drop down for all the companies already in it, so you don't have to know how to spell one company or another. It's already in there. And again, it doesn't collect any names or anything that would be identifiable to a patient. And as soon as you submit the review, this is immediately available on the website for other patients to see. So it's something I'm very proud of, because I wanted to give people a place where they didn't feel like they had to provide any identifying information in order to review a product. I know it's always other websites. I'm gonna name them: iHeartJane, Leafy, Weed Maps. They require you to sign in and then submit the review, and then they look at it. Some of them do, and some of them put it on, some of them don't. I didn't want to have that experience, so I just wanted people to be able to say what they want to say about a product in the most non-biased and non-restrictive way, so they could do that. So I'm very excited that you have added this forum or going to be adding this forum coming soon, this forum to your website, because that will be something that I think will be very useful to patients, because as I've said this in many other videos and before, feedback 100% matters, and the only way to improve is to be able to capture the feedback in a meaningful and respectful way. And that's just what I see you're trying to do there with the forum.
Of course, yeah, no, and it's like that, like efforts like yours, that options like this are becoming available, and patients are able to seek out information that previously wasn't available. So can't wait to see home products on that forum pretty soon.
Yes, sir. We'll get them on there. And so, I really do appreciate you being here today, Mr. Patrick Monaghan, and I want to thank the Hondros That's it, right? Hondros
Got it.
family, and purposely for allowing you to be here. And I hope that you being here will certainly inspire and encourage other LLCs in our program to come on the show and tell whatever they need to tell patients so that they can learn about these products and get more information and feel more comfortable about where their products come from.
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
So yeah.
And, before we go, Anthony, I told you, I promised something big at the end.
Oh, there's more.
Here's something big. All right. So I told you about the olive oil, but because I like you, I wanted to save this announcement for your show. We're extremely proud and excited to announce the arrival of our second brand that we're going to be launching out of Purpose Leaf here called Wildflower. With Wildflower, we're going to work to welcome in new patients who may dislike the taste of cannabis, and they're looking for something that with aromas and flavors they might be more familiar with. So I can't tell you too many details, but expect to see more on that soon.
Wildflower?
Wildflower, W-Y-L-D flower.
Okay, yeah. So so all right, y'all heard it first. Wildflower coming soon from Home Cannabis, Ohio. And that sounds like
keep an eye out for it. There's
okay.
First look.
Okay.
First
yeah,
look here.
That looks a little cool.
Live.
Yeah, that looks a little cool there. And I like the color scheme on that. So yeah, that'll be interesting. All right. Well, again, thank you very much, Patrick, for being here. And that's all the time we have for today. So make sure if you haven't already to go ahead and hit that like, subscribe button and share this video with your friends and family and share it everywhere. And we really appreciate you being here. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another mastermind hit.